Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Better Off Dead, Monday, September 15th. I don't even know what to do anymore, man. Yesterday, 3-1 on the show, I think, and debatably we got screwed on most of the losses, I guess. Tennessee Titans, they were winning the game, a low-scoring game. They had a 3-point lead, I think, in the third quarter, and then completely unraveled. I didn't exactly see how it happened, but it went from them being up 16-13 to all of a sudden they're losing like 33-16, and then they kick a field goal for no reason when they should just be trying to get touchdowns, even though even the touchdown wouldn't have gotten them back within the spread. It would have gotten them back within, I think, 7 at that point. I don't even know what we have going on at this point anymore, man. It's just everything is ridiculous. Actually, it might not have gotten them back within 7. They're going to need one more score, I think, regardless, to try to get back within that number. But that's some bullshit, man. The Jets, not even close, but Justin Fields went out of that game. He got concussed, and he left the game. So that pretty much threw off the whole game as well. I'm not saying they would have covered otherwise, but who knows what would have happened. So that was basically just a dead play. So that's pretty bullshit as well. Phoenix in WNBA was the most bullshit. You have an underdog that goes into overtime. You're pretty much on the right side of that. They covered in regulation, but they go ahead and they just lose in overtime by 7. The game was close most of the way, but they looked like they were turning it on in the fourth quarter. They had the lead late in the game. It goes into overtime. They're like, all right, just do it. Just get this thing done. And no, they lose by 7 in overtime. So that was brutal as well. We did have a win that made me look like a genius on the Kansas City Royals. After they were losing 2-0 early in that game, they wound up blowing out Philadelphia. They bombed Philadelphia's bullpen, won the game 10-3. So we got that one, and then we had the under in the Rays-Cubs game. That looked like it was dead almost immediately. Like there were, I think, 3 runs scored in the first 2 innings, but then it looked like it was going to actually hit because the bullpen started pitching really well. One more run came in, and I think it kind of had to because I think it was a 4-3 game. So it wound up pushing. It landed right on the 7. That was how yesterday went. We got to turn this around, man. This is a bad stretch. Baseball's been bad. NFL, we're below 500 in the NFL now again. This is bad, bad, bad. Thought I was going to get that WNBA win. I thought it was a good call on that one. I thought we had Tennessee as well, the Titans. I was thinking we were going to go at worst, maybe 2-3 yesterday, maybe 3-2. We're going to have 3 plays today. I don't know if I love the baseball plays. It's a small baseball card, but I already gave out the NFL play, but I think the number's still available. I'll rehash it in the best bet segment. Let's go, man. Let's talk about baseball. We have 9 baseball games today. It's a Monday, so it's a bit of a shorter card here for Major League Baseball. No WNBA today. The teams all played yesterday, so they get a day off. And then I think a couple of the teams play game 2 in their series tomorrow. All these baseball games are in the evening. New series for all these teams. Cubs are at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is coming back home. They were just in Washington. They actually just lost to Washington. Pittsburgh returning home from Baltimore and Washington. Not a huge trip, but I always talk about when a team returns home from a road trip, tends to be a little bit of a distracted spot. That's just in general, that is the case. They have to get back to home life. It could be a little bit worse when it's a team that is out of it, like Pittsburgh is, and they just don't have a whole lot left to play for here. But it is the Cubs coming into their house, so they might pay attention to that just because they get to play against a good team, potentially try to spoil maybe something that the Cubs are trying to do. I mean, the Cubs are still potentially trying to win the division. I highly doubt the Cubs are going to miss the playoffs, though, but they are still battling for playoff positioning here. Cubs are coming in, starting a road trip with momentum after they just won back-to-back road series, they won back-to-back series, one on the road against Atlanta, one at home against Tampa. Now they're going back out on the road. So it is definitely a better situational spot for the Cubs. Starting a road trip with momentum is the better spot. The Cubs have the better of the two bullpens here. As far as bullpen usage, and they have the better offense. I mean, that almost goes without saying, even though the Cubs' offense hasn't been as good as of late. Bullpen usage is a little bit lighter on the Pittsburgh side, actually, but we'll still give the Cubs a bullpen edge here. Cubs have Jameson Taillon pitching. Decent season for him, 4.15 ERA, 1.11 whip is pretty solid. Hasn't been as good on the road, 4.99 road ERA. He came back from injury after he missed almost 2 months. Had 2 good starts against Milwaukee and Anaheim with 7 strikeouts, 1 walk combined, and only allowed 1 earned run. A little bit of a setback last time out at Atlanta. It looks like he missed more time, actually, so maybe he was still dealing with an injury. And then he came back again, had a shortened start against Atlanta, gave up 2 earned runs in 4 1/3 innings, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. I mean, it wasn't a horrific start, but not great. He may start doing better again, though, because a lot of times when your schedule gets thrown off, that first game back after you're injured again, even though he is a veteran, I mean, you could kind of explain why he wasn't as good in that start. And he does get kind of an easy opponent to face here against Pittsburgh. He hasn't been that great against Pittsburgh, but he's been all right in the past. In 96 at-bats, 23-6 strikeout walk ratio is solid. 271 average, allowed 710 OPS, so not terrible numbers against Pittsburgh. But an offense as weak as Pittsburgh's is, you'd think maybe he would do a little bit better against them, but still not bad. Pittsburgh is going to go with Braxton Ashcraft, who's a young pitcher who's been in the bullpen for a while, and then he's been in the starting rotation, and now it seems like they're kind of limiting his starts a little bit, maybe because they don't want to burn him out. He's had a good season overall, 2.47 ERA, 1.2 whip, a little bit worse at home, 2.77 ERA at home. He was pitching pretty well. He had a few starts in a row where after they put him in the starting rotation, I think these are all starts, he allowed 1 or fewer earned runs and went at least 5 innings in 3 straight starts, including one against the Cubs, where he struck out 4, had no walks at Wrigley, 1 earned run allowed in 5 innings, 3 hits allowed. So he did well against the Cubs in that one. More recently, this month, his 2 outings were limited to 3 innings each, though. Had 8 strikeouts, 6 walks. So the walk number is a little bit concerning after he was really in command over the month of August. He definitely was a little bit wild in these last couple outings. He did still hold the Dodgers scoreless for 3 innings, and then he gave up 1 earned run against Baltimore. So he's still pitching decently. But they're limiting his pitches a little bit, so we don't really know how deep he's going to go into this game. His numbers are good against the Cubs. Most of that is that 1 start he had against them. They have 21 at-bats against him, 5 strikeouts, no walks, 143 batting average, 381 OPS. So, yeah, I mean, one thing that you have to gauge here is, like, how early is Pittsburgh's bullpen coming into this game? Because, well, they're decently rested, but their bullpen is probably a little bit worse than what you're going to get out of Ashcraft here. On the surface, it looks like maybe an under type of game. I mean, maybe you don't want to trust the bullpen, so I think maybe under in the first 5 innings kind of makes sense in this one. The total did drop from 8.5 to 8. 80% of the tickets on the over, 97% of the cash on the over. So it looks like the money kind of coming in on the over, even though the number looks like it did slightly drop. Again, I could see both pitchers dueling here, and then if Ashcraft is only going to get you 3-4 innings, if you go under in the first 5, at least it'll be mostly him in there, and then a somewhat rested bullpen coming in behind him. The money is also fading the Cubs. They're down from minus 130 to minus 113, 79% of tickets, only 69% of the cash on them. So the Cubs are a public road favorite here, which it makes sense. I mean, the public, if they come in and play this game, they're only going to play the Cubs in this game. Professional money seems to think the Cubs don't deserve to be a road favorite like this. I mean, if you think it's going to be a lower scoring game, I could kind of see that argument that Pittsburgh might just be hanging around in that game and maybe there's some value on the underdog there. But I do think the spot is better for the Cubs, so I don't know, man. I wouldn't quite want to do that. Atlanta at Washington. Washington is staying at home. They did just beat Pittsburgh, like I said. So Washington kind of has been able to break that really bad losing momentum that they had. Atlanta just broke theirs. They had a 4-game losing streak, and they just won against Houston. I talked about that yesterday. I didn't like the matchup, really, for Atlanta, but the spot for Houston was not good yesterday. Atlanta got the win. Now they're traveling after breaking their losing momentum, starting a road trip. Sometimes that is a good spot. That is a positive spot when you do that. These teams both aren't going anywhere, so they're both playing out the stretch, but because it is the Atlanta Braves, you got to figure maybe Washington will show up for this game as well because they're a big name, at least usually one of the contenders in the division. As far as the bullpens are concerned, Atlanta has the better of the bullpens. Not in a great rest spot for them, though. Washington has kind of had somewhat heavy usage from theirs as well, so Atlanta will still have the bullpen edge here. I believe Atlanta does have the better offense as well. Washington's offense actually pretty bad here in the bottom third. Atlanta's kind of mediocre. So Atlanta does have some advantages. I would have to give them the starting pitching edge too, but as far as recent form, it's a little bit questionable. Spencer Strider is pitching for Atlanta. Generally, he is good, but he's had some issues trying to come back from injury here. I think he had like Tommy John surgery or something. It seems like everybody's getting a little of the old T&J out there. Strider, it's kind of been a lost season for him, man. He had glimpses where it looked like he was his former self, but overall, 4.86 ERA, 1.4 whip. That's not good. Worse on the road, 5.13 road ERA. A little bit better over his last 3 starts, going at least 5 innings in each of them, allowing 3 or fewer earned runs in each of them. Too many walks recently, though. Multiple walks in each of those starts, and his strikeout rate was a little bit down as well. So over those starts, he has a 12-8 strikeout walk ratio, even though he was limiting the opponent run totals. So that's still not good. His command wasn't really there, but he did strike out 8 in his last start against the Cubs. He had 2 starts in a row against the Cubs. And after the Cubs had just seen him, he actually did better against them the second time. And his strikeout rate went up. So maybe that's a sign he's getting better again. He gets to face a pretty weak Washington offense here, but he doesn't do well against them. In 40 at-bats, 11 strikeouts, 5 walks. It's a lot of strikeouts, but it's a lot of walks. He's allowed a lot of home runs, 3 home runs, 325 average, 1,013 OPS. I don't like any of that, man. So Spencer Strider, his numbers just aren't that great against Washington. He's going up against Mitchell Parker, who he hasn't really been good at all this season. 5.69 ERA, 1.44 whip for Washington. A little bit better at home, 5.27 home ERA. His last start wasn't too bad. He actually faced Miami twice in a row and went 7 2/3 innings last time out, gave up 2 earned runs, only had 2 strikeouts, though, 2 walks. Pretty good anyway, though, against Miami. Not bad. Previous start against Miami, he didn't even last 5 innings, but he still held them to 2 earned runs. So he does have a 2.92 ERA over that span, but a 6-3 strikeout walk ratio is not very impressive. He has allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in 3 starts in a row. So I guess do with that information what you will. Having to go up against Atlanta this time. Against Atlanta overall, he doesn't have great numbers at 53 at-bats, 14-3 strikeout walk ratio, 283 batting average allowed, 831 OPS. So I'm going to lean to an over in this game. I mean, I'm not really going to trust either starting pitcher. I don't think either bullpen is really that trustworthy either, especially not Washington. So the total did flip from 9 juice to the under to 9 juice to the over. 85% of tickets, 100% of the cash on the over. I don't buy that, but I think an over does make sense in this one. It's somewhat tempting to actually play it. I just think that Strider might be in somewhat better form right now, although maybe that's not going to be good enough to hold this game under. But, yeah, I mean, over would be the way I would look at that game. Toronto at Tampa Bay. Tampa's not decided on a starter here, so this is a little bit difficult to handicap. And Toronto's starter, we don't really know what he's going to do. Tampa's returning home from a road trip. They went to just Chicago. They played the White Sox and the Cubs, so not really a long road trip necessarily, but it's still a road trip return. So a lot of times the team will be distracted. Tampa doesn't really have anything left to play for here, but Toronto is the top team in the AL East as far as the records are concerned. So having Toronto come into their place, Tampa, they might want to show up. They might have a little bit of, they have an opportunity to play spoiler, although I would hope that they would not want to be too intent on spoiling it for Toronto, man, because I would much rather see the Yankees drop out. If it's either Toronto or the Red Sox, I don't really care. Even though I am a Red Sox fan, I would much rather just make sure the Yankees are not going to be the winner, just in general. So I'm a hater more than a lover, man. I'm sorry. Tampa does have the better of these two bullpens. Hold on. I was going to check my audio there. More toadception there. Let me just make sure my audio's all right here. Toronto's bullpen has actually been a little bit better again recently, though, after they were bad for a decent stretch. But Tampa still has the better bullpen. Although you got to look at the bullpen rest situation, which I will show you in a second after I check my audio here. Let me see here. Yeah, it's all right. I just hate my voice, basically. All right. Toronto. Yeah, they only used 2 relief pitchers yesterday. Tampa Bay also used 2. So we'll give Tampa the bullpen edge here. Toronto has the better offense. But again, we don't know who Tampa's starter is going to be. Toronto, they're going with a guy who's making his major league debut here. Trey Savage. Yay, Savage. Yeah, Yay is a savage, man. His song got me fired, baby. I don't even know how to pronounce this guy's name. Yesavage. That doesn't sound right. Yes of age. That's the libertarian motto. No, I don't know, man. I'm gonna call him Yesavage because he's a savage, but I don't know, man. He is the top prospect in the Toronto organization. I looked him up. I mean, he's a big guy, 6'4", 225. He doesn't throw as hard as you would think. I looked up his scouting. He's got a lot of good movement on his pitches, though. He throws like a mid-90s fastball. He has a sweeper, I believe, or maybe it's like a slider or something along those lines. I think he throws either a splitter or a sinker, or some diving fastball, and then he has a curveball that I guess is a pitch that he's still kind of working on. So he's mostly kind of a fastball mix, but the sweeper is like 10 miles an hour slower than his fastball. So it is a speed. Like a speed change there for him. I guess his fastball is pretty good. I guess his arm angle is this like high overarm motion where he's throwing from a really like high arm angle. I guess that's some advantage to him, I guess. I don't really know. I don't know exactly how these pitcher mechanics work. He's been decent in AAA this year, too. His ERA is in the 3s. Very short stint in AAA. He's actually gone through the organization pretty quickly. I believe he was drafted a couple years back. I forget exactly what year he was drafted. He's still really young. He's 22. I know he pitched against Chase Burns in college like not too long ago. And Chase Burns, I think, has been relegated to Cincinnati's bullpen right now. Burns, I think, has a lot of potential, though. This guy might as well. I forget what else I was going to say, but he did, a couple of years ago, he did actually have a collapsed lung that I think happened during acupuncture, so I don't know what that's about. Like, the acupuncturist was just like, oh, let me just stick this needle right into your lung, boy. You got to think they're, like, trained to not do that, but I don't know. But I guess he's worked his way back from that. He's been pitching in AAA, and as I was about to say, in AAA this year, short stint in AAA, but he had about a 3 ERA. In AAA, 1.1 whip, so pretty solid numbers, and his walk number was really the concern. I looked it up. I think he went 17 innings, and he had I think he had about 20 strikeouts and like 11 walks, so it was like way too many walks. So that's the one thing you got to worry about with this guy. Is it seems like he has a little bit of wildness, but he's going to make his major league debut here, man. Of course, when pitchers make their major league debut and they're a decent prospect like this, they do have that advantage of being unfamiliar to the opposing hitters. So I think he will do well here. Tampa is returning home from a road trip. Toronto, they're at least still fighting for the division here. Toronto's got momentum. They've won 4 games in a row. Starting a road trip with momentum tends to be a focus spot for you. So given that and given that we're probably getting a Tampa bullpen game here because Tampa was the originators of the bullpen game anyway. So I'm guessing we're getting a bullpen game there. I would rather take my chances with Savage in that one, even though I know Toronto's bullpen may be a bit questionable still. But minus 115 is the price on Toronto as the road favorite. I would lean that way. Baltimore is at the White Sox here. Actually, I'm going to hold off on that one because that's going to be one of my plays. My apologies. I have a play in Baltimore White Sox and in Cincinnati St. Louis. Yankees at Minnesota. Red Sox were able to beat the Yankees last night, luckily. Well, not luckily, but thankfully. The Red Sox scored 6 runs in the first inning in that game. They hit for a team cycle in the first inning, and then they never scored again, and they still hung on for the win. Garrett Crochet, decent start for him in that game. Will Warren, not decent, getting rocked in the first inning there. If you watched any of that game, it was ridiculous. Like, I had it on in the first inning, and the first inning kept getting extended, and Will Warren was, like, starting to lose his mind. Like, Yoshida, I think, hit a pop fly in foul territory off the first base side, and Jazz Chisholm, like, it looked like he called everybody off. He's the second baseman. I think he called everybody off, and he was going to make the catch. And then he didn't even catch it. He just let it drop. So they let him. And it was with runners on second and third and no outs. And they could have had an out there with no run scoring. And instead, Chisholm just fucks it up again. He's one of the worst fielders, I think, in all of baseball. And then what happened? Of course, then Yoshida was able to drive one to the outfield for a sac fly after that. And the inning got extended because of that. And then the Red Sox got a ground ball to the right side to get another run home. And then Narvaez, former Yankee, who is now on the Red Sox, who seems to be a Yankee killer a lot of the times that he's out there now, which I love that. He came out now with 2 outs, nobody on, so you think the inning's going to be over now, 5-0 Red Sox, and he's just like, nah, I'm just going to jack a home run out there into center field, just completely annihilated the pitch. It's like, holy crap, this inning's not going to end. It was kind of fun to watch it, to be honest. So they got that extra run there. But anyway, the Yankees, they're coming off a big series against the Red Sox. They played Sunday night. You know, I like to fade teams that are coming off the Sunday night game, man, especially off of a huge rivalry series. They lost their win streak. They're having to travel from Boston to Minnesota with a quick turnaround time here. Minnesota's not traveling. I don't believe they're staying at home, I think, right? Yeah, they played Arizona at home. Minnesota did lose yesterday, but no travel. And, you know, Minnesota, if they're going to get up for a game, it'll be a game like this with the Yankees coming into their place. Minnesota, not a whole lot to play for. Yankees, obviously, are still fighting for wild card positioning and for the division here, so they are fighting for that. The Red Sox won 9 of 13 games against them this year, by the way. I like to just put that out there. So, yes, I think it's a bad spot for the Yankees, so my situational read on this would be probably want to look to fade the Yankees in this one. Yankees, not a lot of bullpen usage yesterday. Minnesota didn't really have any either. Neither bullpen is good. So both bullpens are kind of bullpens that you want to fade. The Yankees bullpen actually slightly less bad than Minnesota's. So surprisingly, the Yankees, I guess, have a bit of a bullpen edge. They obviously have a huge offensive edge here. The problem with fading the Yankees here, though, is that I also don't like the starting pitching matchup for Minnesota here. Carlos Rodon is pitching for the Yankees. Good season for him, 3.11 ERA, 1.07 whip. He is a little bit worse on the road, though, 3.34 road ERA. He's been pretty good over the last month, except for his first start in August. He's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in every other start. Since then, the Yankees had won 6 starts in a row of his until they lost one. He lost it. His last time out, they just got no run support. And the bullpen completely imploded. It was one of those bullpen implosions they had in those back-to-back games against Detroit. He did well in that start. Now, even though Rodon did have a 3.15 ERA in August, he did have a 30-20 strikeout walk rate. Just his walk rate was definitely a bit alarming. This month, it's a little bit better at 9-3, but I don't know if we trust his command numbers here, although this month he's gone 6 innings and 2 straight starts. He's only allowed 3 earned runs combined across those, so 2.25 ERA, 3.15 ERA last month, despite the horrific walk numbers. So he is pitching better this month. I mean, he's not really a guy I necessarily want to fade right now. He's facing a weak Minnesota lineup, and he's been good against them in the past. Really good, actually. In 45 at-bats, 17 strikeouts, 3 walks, 156 average allowed, 431 OPS. So he's not really a guy I want to fade here. He dominates Minnesota for the most part. He's going up against Simeon Woods Richardson, who is not a great starter. 4.58 ERA here for Minnesota, 1.39 whip. He is better at home, though, 3.42 home ERA. He's been pretty decent this month, really, over 2 starts. He went 5 innings in each of them, 13-4 strikeout walk ratio, 4.5 ERA, so hasn't been too bad. He came back from the minors, I think, 3 starts ago, had kind of a bad start against Toronto, then did better in his most recent 2 starts, but they were against the White Sox and Anaheim, so he's going to have to step it up here to face the Yankees. But the good thing for him, at least, is that the Yankees are very unfamiliar with him. Yankees only have 2 hitters who have ever faced him before, Caballero and Slater, and they're 0 for 2, or excuse me, 0 for 4, 0 for 2 each. They're 0 for 4 combined with 2 strikeouts and no walks against him. So Woods Richardson has a bit of an unfamiliarity edge here, at least against the Yankees. So I guess do with that information what you will. It is a bad spot for the Yankees. They are a very public, pretty heavy road favorite, up from minus 180 to minus 186. 92% of tickets, 95% of the cash on them. I just can't bring myself to really do it with the matchup here, but the Yankees probably are overpriced, and you are fading the public. If you do really want to take Minnesota, you can maybe take them on a run line, like in a run line situation, and try to get them to hang close in the game, but I still think they have the disadvantage in the starting pitching and in the bullpen, though, so it's hard to even say, like, would you even want to go full game? Or would you want to go first 5 on that? Because maybe the hangover aspect will affect the Yankees more early in the game. Tough call, man. It is a tough call. And money is coming on the over for whatever reason. It's up from 8.5 to 9. Don't really see the percentages on that yet, but just putting that information out there. Texas and Houston, probably the biggest series that's happening right now. Besides Philly and LA, I guess Texas and Houston might even be bigger, though, because it has huge playoff implications. I mean, these teams are fighting for the division. Houston has actually fallen behind Seattle now because Seattle is just on fire. Texas is only a few games back, so these teams, they're battling, man. They're battling for playoff positioning. Houston is in, I believe, the last wild card spot right now. Texas is right behind them. So again, in Houston's, both teams have a chance to win the division too. So it's a crazy scenario here. Houston is returning home from a road trip. They went to Texas, Toronto, and Atlanta. They lost to Texas on the road. So even though normally, as I always say, teams I think are going to be distracted when they come back from a road trip, typically have to get back to home life. It can be a distraction. But in this case, I really don't think so, because this is a huge divisional matchup, and it's revenge for Houston after they just lost at Texas not that long ago. So I think in that case, revenge does motivate you a little bit. So I don't see Houston being distracted despite the return home spot here. I see both teams getting up for this one. Texas is coming in from New York. They've lost a little bit of momentum, though. They just played the Mets. They had beaten Houston. They swept Milwaukee. They'd won 6 games in a row, beating the Mets. They won the series against the Mets, and then they lost the last game against the Mets. I told you, I should have given that one out as a play on the show, man. That was close to being a play for me. I mentioned that on my show yesterday. I like Nolan McLean. I think he probably did well again in that game. It was a good spot for the Mets, or really not a good spot for Texas, so I should have done that. But now Texas, a lot of times when you lose a win streak like this, it'll hang you over into the next game. So Texas might be in a spot like that where they might be a little bit hungover coming into this. Although, again, they're facing Houston, so they can't really be totally distracted or anything like that. Texas used a ton of their bullpen yesterday, so their bullpen usage has been really high. Normally, I would say they have the better bullpen against Houston, but a lot of bullpen usage. Houston a little bit less over the last couple of days, but their bullpen usage has been a little bit heavy recently too. But Texas's bullpen is definitely worn out here, so I really wouldn't want to bank on Texas's bullpen in this game. Houston has the better offense. Texas's offense is just not very good. Texas has the more talented starter on the hill here, but I'm not sure that I would necessarily say he's the better of the two right now as far as their form is concerned. Jack Leiter is pitching for Texas. I mean, he's getting there. I think Texas kind of just rushed him up to the majors, and they kind of threw him to the fire, and he had a difficult start to the majors, but he is definitely getting better. A 3.81 ERA, 1.31 whip is still not very good, though. He isn't as good on the road, 4.45 road ERA. Had 3 pretty good starts in a row where he went 6 innings in each of them, allowed 2 or fewer earned runs. His strikeout rate was really high, 7 or more in each of them. Last start kind of had a setback again. Only lasted 4 2/3, gave up 3 earned runs on 7 hits, 2 walks against Milwaukee. 4 strikeouts. Now, Milwaukee, they're a good offense. They're better than Houston's offense. So he's faced really 3 offenses in a row he's actually faced are better than Houston's. The A's, in the A's stadium, no less, where balls fly out of that ballpark. And then Arizona also in their hitter-friendly park. And then Milwaukee. So he is actually stepping down a bit in class to face Houston. His numbers are okay against Houston in the past in 33 at-bats. 6.5 strikeout walk ratio is still not good, though, but he's held him to a 212 batting average. 740 OPS, getting a little bit higher because of the 5 walks and 2 home runs that he's allowed to Caratini and Diaz. Overall, I mean, he might pitch fairly well in this one, though. And he's going up against George Costanza, Jason Alexander for the Astros, who it's just crazy, man, that the Astros acquired this guy from the A's. He's in his 30s. He's never really been that great of a pitcher, but he's been solid for Houston. I mean, go figure. 4.19 ERA, 1.31 whip overall. I know that's not good. That includes his tenure with the A's. He's worse at home this year, 5.4 ERA, but remember, a lot of that was in that A's stadium when he was with the A's, so there's not a whole lot to take away from that. He has been better in his home starts with Houston, for sure. Although I think he's still been better on the road, though, even with Houston. With Houston overall, he's been fairly good. I mean, he's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in every start except for his his third start with Houston, which was against the A's. He was facing the A's really quickly for the second straight time. Houston has also won 7, or is that 8 straight outings of his? Whatever it is, that's crazy, man. Yeah, I think it's 8 straight outings of his now. So that's insane. He's still pitching well. He's coming off a 7-inning shutout of Toronto. He did decently against the Yankees in the start before that. He's got a 2.25 ERA this month with those 2 starts, 9-3 strikeout walk ratio. So he's pitching pretty well. Against Texas, they only have 2 guys who've seen him before, Higashioka and Peterson. They're 1 for 4 off him with a double from Peterson being the only hit, 2 strikeouts, no walks. So he's pretty unfamiliar to Texas as well. So I think this game is an under. I mean, that's my lean in this one. I would actually probably leave the bullpens out of it, even though normally I would say these bullpens are good and want to leave them in. I know I got caught with actually Texas's bullpen imploding for one of my unders in the previous series between these two teams. The total is flipped from 8.5 juice to the over to 8.5 juice to the under. 67% of tickets on the over, 85% of the cash on the over. But this is a fairly, not a significant line move necessarily, but it's a line move that's big enough that I think that was a legitimate line move. So I don't really buy the percentages there. I would go first 5 innings under, probably would be the way I would look at that game. That would be my opinion. Houston's down from -125 to -120 on the money line as far as the side. 61% of tickets, 95% of the cash on Houston, though. So it looks like they are taking the cash in this one. I'm not quite so sure about that. Again, I guess we'll see. We will see what happens in that game. It's not going to be a play for me, but it is a big game. And then we got San Francisco at Arizona. I mean, I think at this point, both of these teams are just playing out the stretch. I think San Francisco probably pretty much has to realize they're not making the playoffs here. Even though, well, maybe not, though, because I know the wild card race is kind of a little bit wide open because the Mets and the Reds both keep losing. So maybe I'm wrong about that. Arizona's returning home from a road trip. They did just play at San Francisco, though, and they lost that series, so it is a little bit of a quick revenge spot for Arizona. And, they might have motivation because it's a divisional rival, and they might want to try to spoil their divisional opponent's season. So I don't see Arizona not being focused here, even though they are returning from San Francisco and then Minnesota. As I always say, teams return home from a road trip. Usually you want to fade those teams because they tend to be distracted, get back to family life, especially when they're a team that's pretty much out of it. But Arizona's also right behind San Francisco, so even though they sold off at the trade deadline, so to me it just seems like they're just playing out the stretch, but they're still technically not eliminated, and they could get above San Francisco, so there are some motivating factors there. Arizona did just win the last 2 games against Minnesota. Still not saying they're in a good spot, though. San Francisco's coming off playing the Dodgers. That was a big series, but they got absolutely wrecked in the last 2 games against the Dodgers, so they might be focused as well, just get out of home, go out on the road, start a road trip. So I tend to think it is a focus spot for San Francisco. San Francisco has the better bullpen, significantly so. Huge bullpen edge for San Francisco. Both teams had kind of similar usage in their bullpens recently, too, including yesterday. So you got to give San Francisco the bullpen edge here. I don't think they in any way have the starting pitching edge, though. Arizona has the way better offense, by the way. So, I mean, that's what you get with these two teams. San Francisco, way better bullpen. Arizona, way better offense. But I think Arizona has a significantly better starting pitcher here. San Francisco has Kai Tang pitching, and he has not been very good. 7.54 ERA, 1.76 whip. I mean, that's worse than not very good. 7.31 ERA on the road. Somehow he's actually not as bad on the road, but still bad. He's only been able to make it 5 innings twice. He hasn't pitched that much. He started pitching in the majors in August this year, but he hasn't been good. As you can see, those numbers aren't very good. His 16-5 strikeout walk ratio this month is not horrible, but I mean, even so, his strikeout rate went way up, but he was still allowing a bunch of runs. He's allowing a lot of hits. He's getting hit around, so yeah, I mean, I don't love it. Both of those were on the road. One of them was in Coors Field, so maybe you give him a pass for that, but then he followed that up by walking 5 guys against a weak St. Louis lineup. So I'm not going to put much stock into Tang being able to do a whole lot here. He's going up against a pretty potent Arizona lineup. They're only 1 for 2 off him, but they have 5 hitters who've seen him before because they also have 3 walks against him and no strikeouts. So in very limited sample size, you can't take that much away from him, but he hasn't been that good at all against Arizona. He's going up against Zach Gallen, who's the much more proven pitcher, and he's had a rough season, but he's actually been pitching better recently. So, I mean, he's been fairly good in the past, so you had to kind of expect that at some point he was going to pitch better, even though you could say the same thing about Fott, and that really hasn't happened with him. But Gallen, 4.84 ERA, 1.28 whip on the season. I know it hasn't been a great season for him. His home ERA and road ERA are almost exactly the same. But he did get better. Like I said, he had a 2.57 ERA in August, 28-9 strikeout walk ratio, allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in all of those starts and in his first start this month. A little bit of a setback against this exact San Francisco team last time out. So San Francisco did just see him, but they're already familiar with him. I mean, they've faced him a bunch. He's in their division, so I don't think the fact that he's facing them again in quick succession is actually that bad of a thing for him. He gave up 5 earned runs in that one, walked 3 guys. That's a bit of a concern. 2 home runs allowed. Gave up only 5 hits, though. I didn't give up a lot of hits, 3 strikeouts. So, I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot you can take away from that recent start. I'm not going to say he's in bad form all of a sudden with one little bit of an outlier start potentially. Generally, he is pretty good against San Francisco on 106 at-bats. 28-14 strikeout walk ratio is not good. That's too many walks. But he's held him to a 208 batting average and 715 OPS. So I'm not really ready to say that Gallen is not going to do well here. I think he might. Arizona dropped from -140 to -122 on the money line. Maybe some action kind of fading Arizona because they're returning home from a road trip. 72% in tickets, 84% of the cash on Arizona, though. So their public, the public loves offense, man. So the public is going to be on Arizona. They probably also see the ERAs and really don't want anything to do with Tang. And then, I mean, other than that, it seems like the professional money actually might be coming back in on Arizona a little bit too. I wouldn't want to do it just because Arizona is in that return home spot, but I think there's absolutely no way that you could play San Francisco with Tang on the mound. If you play Arizona, I think you have to go first 5 innings, though, because their bullpen is at a big disadvantage. So I think Arizona has a huge starting pitching edge, though. So that's how I look at that game. It's a difficult game to handicap. Looks like money kind of coming in towards an over. Total's kind of sitting just there at 9, juice to the over. If you want the over, I would try to get it over 9 at the -120 rather than the 9.5, obviously, because the half is a huge difference in baseball, and the 9 is a key number because it breaks the 4-4 tie. 86% of tickets, 97% of the cash on the over. I don't disagree with an over. I mean, I could see Gallen doing all right in this start, but I could also see him giving up enough runs and Tang getting blasted enough that we get into the bullpens and San Francisco's bullpen has to come in early and, maybe their bullpen edge just gets kind of negated and, that type of thing. So I wouldn't disagree with an over in that game either. And, teams maybe playing out the stretch a little bit there. Maybe it gives them a little bit less focus potentially. Philadelphia at the Dodgers here. This is the other big series. This is on MLB Network at night after Cubs Pittsburgh is also on MLB Network. The only two televised games here. The Dodgers are returning home from a road trip, but it's only from San Francisco, so it's not a huge road trip. They're staying in the Pacific time zone. Not a big deal. This will be a pretty big series for both teams. I think the Dodgers have more to play for because they don't have a big lead in their division right now. And Philly has a huge lead in their division, so maybe a little bit more motivation on the side of the Dodgers potentially. Both teams, I think, will be focused, though. I mean, it'll be a big series. Philadelphia, as I talked about yesterday, I gave out Kansas City on the show yesterday. Philadelphia, I think they lapsed in focus. Their bullpen really was bad yesterday. I think we're already getting ready for that trip, man, knowing they had to fly across country, which is still not going to be an easy thing to do. They got to fly across country. They just lost a long win streak that they had, 6 wins in a row, and then they lost that win streak. A lot of times that will hang you over. They have to travel across country. They got to play late night, which is going to fuck with their biological clocks. So I think the Dodgers do have an advantage in this game, man. So I'm kind of leaning towards the Dodgers as far as the situation, even though they're returning home. It's not a typical return home spot. Like I said, it was a very short road trip, both distance-wise and time-wise. Dodgers basically only used 2 relievers yesterday. They used Henriquez for 1 pitch. Like, who cares? These bullpens are both bad, but I think the Dodgers bullpen is actually better than Philly's. And Philly used some of theirs yesterday, more of theirs than the Dodgers did. So, surprisingly, we're going to give the Dodgers the bullpen edge. You can see it here. They do have a slightly better bullpen there on the season. We'll give the Dodgers the offensive edge, too. Both of these teams could certainly hit, but the Dodgers are a better offense at home than on the road. So we will give the Dodgers the bullpen edge as well. Philly does have Roger Suarez on the mound, though, and I kept saying I expected a bit of regression out of him, and it looked like it was happening, just like it did last year. But he's been really, really good again recently, so I don't quite want to fade Suarez. He's got a 2.77 ERA, 1.15 whip. Good numbers on the season. He's been better on the road, too. 2.05 road ERA. He's been really good over his last 4 starts. 3 of them, he didn't allow any runs at all. Phillies won 5 starts in a row of his. He's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all of those starts. He's had double-digit strikeouts in 3 of the 5, including his last start, which was a 1-hit performance through 6 against the Mets. 12 strikeouts. Hasn't allowed a run this month yet against Milwaukee and the Mets, so he's facing solid offenses too. He's in good form right now, man, so he's not really a guy that I want to fade. Going up against the Dodgers, though, he doesn't have good numbers. In 67 at-bats against the Dodgers, 15 strikeouts, 4 walks. That's not horrible, but 313 batting average, 845 OPS. So the Dodgers have been able to hit him. So something to keep in mind. So maybe he is still fadeable, even though I don't really like to fade pitchers that are in really good form like he is right now. He maybe is fadeable here. He's going up against Emmett Sheehan, who is a young pitcher, man, for the Dodgers, and he's got good stuff. I keep talking about he's a talent. He's got a hard fastball. He's good. He's a looming mound presence. He's starting to pitch better, too. 3.32 ERA, 1.09 whip. He's doing well. He's been really good at home, 2.32 home ERA. And he's been pretty good. 2 of his last 3 starts, he allowed 1 and 0 earned runs. He had a little bit of a shaky outing at Pittsburgh where he was really inefficient. He only lasted 4 2/3 innings, allowed 2 earned runs, both on home runs. Was able to escape damage otherwise in that game, though. But he's got a 2.31 ERA this month in those 2 starts. He dominated the Rockies last time out. His 2 really good starts out of his last 3 are both at home, so he is definitely better at home. He's actually allowed only 1 earned run at home in his last 3 home outings. So, yeah, I mean, something to keep in mind. He's pitching a lot better at home right now. Does still have a 15-3 strikeout walk ratio this month, and he's had 9+ strikeouts in 2 of his last 3 outings, going 7 innings in both of those 2. So he's pitching pretty well right now, and he has a little bit of an edge because Philadelphia has never faced him before. So Sheehan has a little bit of an extra edge here with the unfamiliarity aspect there. So I think he does actually probably have the edge in the starting pitching matchup. So overall, I will lean to the Dodgers in this game. I actually do think they have the starting pitching edge, the bullpen edge, and the hitting edge here, believe it or not. And they've dropped from -145 to -116. I don't know what caused that line move. I don't know if maybe there was just a pitching change. Maybe Philly wasn't going to go with Suarez, and now they are, because that would really be the only reason why the line would move towards Philly like that when you see that 53% of tickets are on Philly, but 64% of the cash coming in on the Dodgers. So the money coming in on the Dodgers, I do agree with it. I would rather go with a very talented, young, unfamiliar pitcher over a guy that doesn't do well against his opponent. But again, Suarez, really, really good recently. So, I mean, I can see some arguments for an under in the first 5 innings as well here. I don't love the bullpens at all, obviously. So, first 5 inning under, definitely could see that. The total drop from 8.5 juice to the over to 8.5 juice to the under. 85% of tickets on the over, only 62% of the cash on the under. So, the money is coming in on the over as well. Coming in on the money's coming in towards the under as well, So, but again, bullpens are bad. So, I would go first 5 innings under in that one. Let's go to my actual 2 plays, which are in kind of the off games here, let's say. But I think there are reasons for both of these, so let's go with them. Best bet segment, and I do have to talk about the 2 Monday Night Football games, and one of them is also a best bet. So let's get to it. First up, we're going to go with the Orioles in the first 5 innings, and the price on them is a little bit too high. It's about minus 140 something or so. I think you can get a cheaper price on the Orioles in the full game, but I don't really want anything to do with their bullpen, even though I know they're up against a bad White Sox bullpen too. But Baltimore's bullpen is actually still significantly worse than the White Sox bullpen. So I want to focus on where I think Baltimore has the biggest edge. That is the first 5 innings with the starting pitching matchup. The way to get this price cheap is to go minus the half run. You can find it. I've saw it at even money out there at MGM in Mass. You can probably find it right around minus 110 or whatever otherwise. Either way, I think that's the way to go in this game. Baltimore is the better team over the White Sox, although, I mean, the public is going to know that as well. The public will probably be on Baltimore as well. They do still have the better record. I know they're not that good on the road, but the White Sox are actually pretty terrible at home. So I think the home-road dichotomy isn't really an issue here as far as Baltimore not being good on the road, because Chicago's just not good at home. I know both of these teams are playing out the stretch, but Baltimore is definitely the better of the 2 teams. The White Sox are returning home from a road trip, although it was only to Cleveland. They did lose all 3 games to Cleveland. So this is going to be more about the matchup, though. Like, it doesn't really matter. They're returning home from Cleveland. That's not really a big deal. But they are a team that's still returning home. They are still playing out the stretch here. So potentially they will still maybe not totally focus on Baltimore, because, I mean, Baltimore's not really a team that's going to draw your focus. Baltimore, on the other hand, is stepping down in class. So, I mean, White Sox just faced a really weak Cleveland lineup and still didn't do very well. And now they're facing Baltimore, who's probably even actually a little bit better than Cleveland, maybe even. I don't know. In some ways, their offense is at least better. Cleveland's not anywhere near as good as their record looks, man. Meanwhile, Baltimore just faced Toronto on the road. So Baltimore's already mid-road trip. They got smoked yesterday, 11-2. So they're coming off an ugly series, and they're stepping way down in class. So they just faced a really good Toronto team. So it's going to be a lot easier after you face a really talented Toronto team. It's going to be a lot easier to face this White Sox team. As I said, the Cubs do have the better bullpen, surprisingly. So we'll keep the bullpens out of it. Their bullpen's fairly rested, too. Baltimore's is pretty rested, too, though. They used Ragsdale for most of their relief yesterday. So Baltimore at least is rested if you did want to go full game in this one. Baltimore has the better offense, so that's going to help us out here. But I like the starting pitching matchup, man. We're going to go with Kyle Bradish here for the Orioles. He hasn't pitched much this year, but since he's come back, he's been good. 2.65 ERA, 0.94 whip. I know he's been worse on the road, 4.5 road ERA, but it's only one start. And I know it was in a pitcher-friendly park at San Diego, but it wasn't exactly a bad start. He just didn't last that long. He was inefficient with his pitches. He allowed 2 earned runs in 4 innings. I mean, that's not even that bad. So I'll give him a little bit of a pass for that. He's allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in all 3 of his outings. Did face the Red Sox in his first outing, so they're a pretty good offense, and he whiffed 10 Red Sox, so his strikeout rate is really high. He's got a 21-4 strikeout walk ratio overall in his 3 starts this season, and the White Sox are not a very intimidating lineup, so I think Bradish should continue to do well in this one. And I think he's just going to be pumped to be out there, man, because he's missed most of the season, so he's a guy that I don't think is really going to care that he's pitching for a team that's just out of it. I think he's just going to be happy to be out there pitching in the majors again, man. White Sox are pretty unfamiliar with him, too. They only have 3 hitters who've ever faced him before, and they're 0 for 7 with 4 strikeouts off him and no walks. So he's completely burned through those 3 hitters who have seen him before, Fletcher, Lee, and Taylor. And the unfamiliarity against the rest of the lineup, I think that's going to be a pretty big edge for Bradish. So I think he's pitching well, and the fact that he's unfamiliar to this pretty bad White Sox lineup, I think it's going to cause him to struggle further. So I think Bradish should do well here. He's going up against Sean Burke, who is a decently talented young pitcher. This is his rookie season, but he's kind of tailed off. I think the grind of the full Major League season, although I don't think he's pitched really the full season, but he pitched a little bit last year, but 122 innings now this year is just something he's not really that used to doing. He's starting to wear down, it looks like to me. He's got a 4.35 ERA, 1.47 whip. Really, that's way too high of a whip. Putting 1.5 guys on base an inning, that's not good. He is better at home, so I know we're going against the home road splits here, 4.02 ERA at home, but he has not pitched well recently. He's failed to go 5 innings in 5 of his last 6 outings. His team has lost 4 of those 6, so none of that is really good. This month, one outing against Tampa Bay in this stadium at home, and he only lasted 4 1/3. Gave up 3 earned runs, 5 hits, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. Not a good sign. He's had multiple walks in 3 of his last 4 outings. He's just not going deep into games anymore, man. So I think Bradish should probably be able to outlast him here, and you might see Burke gone from the game before the first 5 innings are even up. So something to keep in mind there, too. I kind of expect Bradish to be able to outpitch him somewhat easily in this one. Burke against the Orioles, they've seen him a little bit, not a whole lot. They only have 5 hitters who've seen him before, but they are 4 for 12 off him. So small sample size on both sides, but the Orioles do have the much better numbers in the small sample size at the very least. And we're going with the pitcher that's in much better form, and I think the more proven pitcher who's in the better shape here and who has not suffered the grind of the whole season. So Bradish should be much more fresh here than Burke too, right? Because Burke, young guy, not used to the grind, has pitched most of the season. Bradish is really fresh right now because he started the season so late. So that's an advantage to him as well. Burke does have 3 strikeouts, 1 walk against the Orioles, but overall, again, 333 average, allowed an 801 OPS, so it's not very good. So we will go with the Orioles in that one in the first 5 innings. And then my other play is going to be Cincinnati money line, -102. You can actually get a cheaper price on the full game than the first 5, which is interesting because St. Louis has the better bullpen. But here's the thing. St. Louis's bullpen, they got pretty burned out over the last 2 days, and they've had a ton of bullpen usage over the last couple of days. So I think that kind of negates how good their bullpen is. And I think the motivation might hurt them too. Cincinnati only used 3 relief pitchers yesterday, and they used Santillan for only 4 pitches. So he'd be available again, really, if they want to use him. So I think that kind of negates the bullpen edge a little bit, even though, yeah, I know St. Louis is a top 5 bullpen ERA-wise, but they're also just kind of playing out the stretch. Cincinnati's bullpen is in the mediocre range, but St. Louis's bullpen is used up, man. So we'll get the cheaper price, and we'll actually include the bullpens in this one. And some of it is about the spot. St. Louis really does not have a whole lot left to play for. I mean, sure, maybe you could argue they want to try to spoil Cincinnati's season here, try to prevent them from making the playoffs. But, I mean, really, I don't know, man. I don't know if Cincinnati is really like their most hated like divisional foe or whatever. St. Louis, they're returning over from a road trip, but they went to the Pacific Coast, to Seattle, and then to Milwaukee, so it was not an easy road trip for them. Yes, they did win the final game yesterday against Milwaukee, so that ended their losing momentum. So sometimes that gives you positive momentum, but they're returning home from a road trip, so they could have stuff to do back at home. They know they're not going anywhere this year. They just faced Milwaukee, and they just got a win, so it could be even a little bit of a letdown spot after you get a big win over the Brewers like that. That's a big win, man. They might be more focused on trying to beat the Brewers than trying to beat the Reds, to be honest. That was a pretty hard-fought series in the last 2 games. Both were one-run games. So St. Louis could be a bit burnt out from playing them, from the travel. Meanwhile, Cincinnati coming in, they just they're on a 3-game loss streak, man. I know they're coming in from the Pacific Coast, 3rd straight road series. That's a little bit difficult to do, but they got embarrassed at the A's stadium, man. A lot of times, I think when teams go to that stadium, sometimes it just throws them off because it's such a ridiculous AAA stadium. Their pitching gets affected and whatever, but they got so embarrassed. They got shut out in one of the games, lost 11-5 and then 7-4 in the other games after losing 3-0. So this Cincinnati team, man, they could still potentially catch the Mets. The Mets aren't playing well. So Cincinnati's like, they're wasting their chances here, man. So I think they're going to be the more motivated team. I think they're going to be happy to just get the hell out of there and just go to a more familiar venue and play some baseball. So I think Cincinnati is actually in the better spot here. They're in more of a bounce back spot, in my opinion, after getting totally embarrassed. Just, yes, they do have to adjust to the time zone difference. That is a slight issue there. St. Louis is staying in the same time zone as they already adjusted back coming from the Pacific Coast, but I don't think that's that big of a deal. And we're also going to look at the starting pitching matchup, obviously. And Cincinnati has a way better offense, even though they're not that good offensively. St. Louis is really bad offensively. The worst offense in baseball, I think, since the All-Star break. Zach Littell is pitching for the Reds, and I trust him a lot more than Liberatore, man. The two LIs pitching. Littell, 3.78 ERA, 1.12 whip on the season between playing with Tampa and the Reds. So he's used to pitching in these really hitter-friendly stadiums, too, which is a decent sign, even though he does allow too many home runs, which I know I mentioned that I faded him his last time out, and I got caught against San Diego. He actually still pitched well there. He's been a little bit worse on the road, 3.87 ERA, but that's still pretty good. He's mostly in good form right now, though, man. I mean, it's two of his last three outings, he went at least 6 innings and allowed 3 or fewer earned runs. One of them was against St. Louis, where he went 7 innings at home against them. Allowed 3 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, no walks. So that does mean St. Louis is more recently familiar with them. So I guess that's a little bit of a concern. This will be the first team that he's facing twice since coming over to Cincinnati, but I'm not as concerned about that. This month, 10-2 strikeout walk ratio. So I think his 6.1 ERA maybe something to not really be, considering that heavily, because his bad start, he gave up 4 home runs to Toronto, so it was a bit of a fluke. Again, he just allows way too many home runs, man, but that was at home. This is going to be on the road. So those home parks, just 2 home run conducive. Littell, maybe he should have pitched against the A's. He has good numbers against the A's. But against St. Louis, this very bad lineup. Littell's been pretty good against them, too, in 35 at-bats, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, 229 batting average against them, 707 OPS. So I think he will actually do decently in this game. He's going up against Liberatore, who has been the worst of the 2 pitchers this season, 4.35 ERA, 1.33 whip. Matthew Liberatore, he is better at home a little bit, 4.18 ERA, so I know we're not going with the home road splits in this one either, but he's in worse form right now, man. He's been going less deep into games. He's gone fewer than 5 innings in whatever that is. A lot of his recent outings, man. He's only made it 5 innings or more in 3 of his starts recently, going all the way back to, through mid-July. So, I mean, he's not going deep into games. This month, he has a 4.82 ERA, 8-4 strikeout walk ratio. That's no good. So he's allowing more walks. He's allowing more runs. He's not pitching as deep into games as Littell. So you could see St. Louis's bullpen that's already kind of used up get into the game earlier, too. So I don't like how it sets up for them, man. And he just pitched against Cincinnati, so that familiarity edge that either offense might have is negated because they both just faced each other, and he didn't do particularly well in that game. They did win. He did hold them to 3 earned runs in 5 innings. That was at Cincinnati, but he gave up 8 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. I mean, it was a mediocre start for him. Liberatore against Cincinnati overall, his numbers are not that good. In 70 at-bats, 11-5 strikeout walk ratio, 286 batting average, 833 OPS. So he has the worst matchup numbers, so we will go with the Reds in this one. The money seems to be kind of disagreeing with it. St. Louis did drop from -115 to -108. We have 68% of the tickets on the Reds, 75% of the cash on St. Louis. You know I don't love that. It looks like the money is coming in at St. Louis, at least based on the market read for now, but I don't agree with it. So we will go with the Reds in this one, and those will be my 2 baseball plays there. I am worried about fading market reads like that, although a lot of times when I do that, I am able to win out. It hasn't been the case this season, though. We got to do better in the final stretch, man. This has been a terrible baseball season. I just can't really explain it. Nate, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out late in the show, but you get my NFL plays to finish here. We're in the best bet segment, but I'm going to talk about both NFL games anyway. One of them is a best bet for me, and we'll cap the show at about an hour. How about that? I just scratched my neck, but I almost did like an Italian chin scratch. Hey! Doubleheader, man. Doubleheader on Monday night here. I think both games are on ESPN. The first one's on ABC and ESPN, I think. I don't even know. First game is Buccaneers and Texans. I don't have a play on this one, but this one was close to being a play for me. I do like the Texans, and mostly it just looks like a strong market read to me. Texans are up from 2 to 2.5. You know the public is only going to be on Tampa, right? Because people have seen, like, the C.J. Stroud magic is gone. Like, he didn't look good last year. Texans have turned into more of a defense-oriented team. They got a lot of offensive injuries. They're going to be without Mixon possibly for the season. Tank Dell looks like he may never come back. They're still without Christian Kirk. They need him back to give them more weapons for C.J. Stroud. Their offensive line kind of looks a little bit iffy as well. So people don't like it, man, because their offense isn't that good, but they thrive on their defense, man, and their defense was good. I mean, you saw what the Rams just did to Tennessee yesterday. Texans held that Rams offense completely down, although granted the Rams are probably due to have a slow start. Matthew Stafford, I think his back still isn't right, and he didn't play at all in preseason, but still, Texans have a good defense. They do have the better of the two defenses here. There is a reason why they're favored. And the public, they're only going to want to go towards Tampa here, man, because it's Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans, whatever. Godwin, I think, might still be hurt, but I don't think Godwin factors into the handicap too much here. 59% of tickets on Tampa, 51% of the cash on the Texans. So the Texans do have the money coming in on their side. Again, I agree with it, and there's a lot of money coming in on the under. The totals dropped heavily from 46.5 all the way down to 42.5 on the under, Money coming in on the under. 77% of tickets on the over, 64% in the cash on the over. So the money fading the public on that one and coming in very strongly on the under. And I think the under is correlated to the Texans being able to win this game, even though I know they're the favorite. And usually the underdog is correlated with the under. But if you think it's going to be an under, that pretty much means the Texans' defense is going to win the day and hold down the Buccaneers offense. So I think Texans is correlated. They're correlated with the under, but I don't think you can play the under at this low of a number, man. I mean, you've missed out on a lot of the value here, although a lot of those are dead numbers there, but I think 44-ish is probably where I would kind of cap it there as far as the under is concerned, even though I generally would agree with the under in this one. I think Tampa's in somewhat of a bad spot, too, because they're coming off a win over Atlanta, big divisional win, and it was a misleading win. Atlanta had the game in hand pretty much late. I mean, I know they're only winning by 3 late, but Atlanta had that game at the end and then blew the game at the end. Atlanta did outgain them by almost 100 yards, so Atlanta had the upper hand. They out-first downed them. They out-possessed them, so it was a misleading final result there, man. So as far as the you can see ESPN does this weird thing now where they show your fantasy matchup and they show your pick'em stats all related to that particular game. It's kind of crazy. At least it doesn't show. I don't think it shows my name there. At least it better not. But anyway, I think Tampa's in a bit of a letdown spot here, and a lot of times games where teams get caught the most are out-of-conference road games because they're not used to playing in that venue. And it's just a game that means less than the rest of the games on the schedule because the conference record is the tiebreaker when it comes down to it. So Tampa is in that spot too. A road out-of-conference game. Houston, I know they're coming in from the Pacific Coast, but it was an ugly loss for them. So I think they're going to want to bounce back from that. So all that being said, yeah, I think Houston is the right side in this one. I'm almost convincing myself to give out a play on that one, but I won't. But I think Houston is the way to look in that game. -2, -2.5, whatever. I wouldn't want to lay -3 really on that. I would try to get the better of the number 3. You could go money line if you want to, or maybe when the public has their say later today, maybe. I mean, you should probably still be able to get the 2.5 out there, I would imagine, though. But my play is going to be on the other game. Pete, what's up, man? You're also on the Reds. Should I be worried now that we're both on the Reds? I don't know. I mean, I don't disagree with it. I think they have the starting pitching edge. Normally, I would say they have the worst of the two bullpens, too, but I'm fading the used-up St. Louis bullpen as well there. My final play is in this last game here. I've already given it out on my show multiple times. But we're going to be on the Raiders. The Raiders, +3.5 here, man. I think the public is going to be looking at this and thinking, well, first of all, there's no way that the Raiders can start 2-0, which is kind of just a stupid way of thinking because it all depends on the matchup. And, I mean, they beat the Patriots in week 1. I don't know if there's really a whole lot to take away from that. I mean, they played decently against the Patriots, got the win. Now they're coming back home, but a lot of this is a fate of the Chargers, man. The Chargers, they're in a horrendous spot. I think they're in the worst spot of the entire week. They're coming off a huge divisional win over Kansas City. I know this is a divisional game too, but this game is surrounded by bigger divisional games. I haven't seen a situation like this maybe ever. So Chargers are already in a letdown spot because they're coming off a huge win over Kansas City. It was also double revenge because they lost to Kansas City twice last year. This was considered by some to be maybe the matchup where, like Kansas City might take a step back this year, and who's going to fill that void? And it's either basically going to be the Chargers or Denver. So keep that in mind. And the Chargers are kind of putting themselves in position where it looks like it might be them, where they're the team that beat the Chiefs to start the season. And not only is it a letdown spot, but they're traveling back from Brazil, which is something very unfamiliar. I mean, NFL started Brazil games last year, and the Chargers and the Chiefs, neither of those teams have ever done that. And unfortunately, I think it affected the Chiefs yesterday a little bit too, because I liked the Chiefs in that game yesterday against the Eagles, and it didn't happen. I didn't want to make it a play because they were returning home from Brazil, but this return home from Brazil, this is no joke, man. And it's really a second straight road game, even though the Chargers actually gave up a home game to get that Brazil game. That was one of the Chargers' home games. And now they're playing a second straight game not at home, going to Vegas. I know they're used to playing in Vegas, but this is Vegas' home opener too. I think Vegas is going to be real pumped, man. I mean, I think after winning against the Patriots, I think the crowd is going to be up thinking, hey, maybe we can do something this year. We got Pete Carroll. We got Geno Smith. We got Ashton Genty. This is a new team. And I think with all those new components, it's a good thing they have a game under their belt. They got a taste of victory. It's going to give them a little bit of momentum moving forward with these new guys. I think that's good. Smith already had continuity with Pete Carroll because they played together at Seattle, so they already know each other. So that helped Vegas hit the ground running too. Vegas is the team that's being totally overlooked in this situation, man. And I'm not saying they're going to be good this year. I still think they're the last place team in this division, but I think as far as the situation is concerned, I think that sets this up to be a sandwich for the Chargers because not only is it a letdown spot coming off a monster win, and they're having to travel from Brazil, but they have a big game up next against Denver, and those are the two teams, like I said, that everybody's talking about. One of those two teams is going to replace Kansas City this year. It's either going to be the Chargers or Denver. That is a huge matchup next week between the Chargers and Denver. Nobody's talking about the Raiders having a chance in this division. Again, I don't really think they do, but I think it sets up pretty nicely situationally here for the Chargers to overlook Vegas, be thrown off by the travel. I like it a lot, man. It's a divisional sandwich, even though it is 3 division games in a row. This is the least of all 3. I like it a lot. I think Vegas could take them by surprise here. And the way the Chargers play under Harbaugh, they play a time of possession game. They possess the ball as much as possible. They want to keep their defense rested, keep their defense off the field. And that leads to a lot of lower scoring games typically, which means it's more difficult to cover a spread, especially as a favorite on the road. It makes it more difficult to do that, man. The Chargers play a lot of close games because of that. That's the way that they play. They just try to keep the game in their sights the whole time and try to keep the opponent's offense off the field as much as possible. That's what they do. So I think that's what they're going to be doing again. That's just the style they play under Harbaugh. So I like it, man. The Chargers went up from 3 to 3.5. I think you can definitely get a 3.5 right now. And if you can't now, you're probably going to be able to get it at some point before the game because the public will likely come in on the Chargers, especially if the public comes in this first game and they lose on the Buccaneers. They're going to try to make their money back on the Chargers. Chargers have 67% of tickets on them, 55% of the cash, so the money is coming in against the Chargers here. We're going to do it. We're going to be on the Raiders here. A little bit worrisome that the money is coming in on the over. The total did go up from 44.5 to 46.5, juice to the over. It's headed towards that key number of 47, even though I know the Chargers play kind of a slow-down game, but maybe the Raiders might be correlated with the over here, man, because the Chargers like to play that under style game, and if the Raiders are able to somehow speed the game up and go with their offense that has actually some weapons on offense, that actually might play in the Raiders' favor. So the over might actually be correlated to the Raiders here, even though they are the underdog. So even though I just said the opposite, it's interesting to think about. 72% of tickets, 83% of the cash coming in on the over here. So money is coming in on the over, but Chargers, they'll be my play here. It's my favorite play of the entire NFL week, and it better be because the other two lost. So, and I really am not sure that we should have lost that Titans one, man. And the Jets we got screwed with the concussion to Justin Fields. What can you do? That's going to do it, man. My plays one more time. Baltimore Orioles, first 5 innings, run line. Cincinnati Reds, money line, full game. And Vegas Raiders, the Raiders, plus 3.5. Let's do it. Let's get back on the winning side today, man. Thanks for hanging out, guys, this morning. Peace out. Learn to Toad on Twitter for me. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. We are also on the audio platforms, so you can give me a review there. Spotify, Apple. All of it helps me out, man. And listening on audio helps me, too, just if you listen, because the ads are in there and it's monetized. Be good to help this thing take off. I better get better. I need to get some wins, man, because otherwise, I mean, who's going to listen? I mean, I need to be funnier, too, but I got to give out good information. I mean, I think I'm still giving out good information. It's just the wins haven't been coming in like they have in the past. I just don't know how to explain it right now, but let's get it back on the winning track here. The fact that football's back in swing, I think, will help us. College football has been good over the last 2 weeks. So I think college football will continue to be good like it was last year. So hopefully that is the case. NFL usually is decent for me as well. So hopefully that continues as well. Or gets back. Hopefully we get back towards doing that. And then I have my ukulele stuff covered in uke on YouTube. Go check that out. I am up to date with the YouTube videos now, except I want to drip in like old videos as well. Patreon.com/LearnToToad, and you get bonus content. But I got to get back to that. I got to get that feed up to date. Maybe I'll be able to do it today. We will see, because Monday's a bit of a lighter day. So let's get it done. Peace out, guys, for now. And I'll be back tomorrow morning, I guess, as long as I'm alive. Let's get some wins and help keep me alive here. Peace, guys.